Delving deep into shadows, uncovering the light. Guess with solid minds, no tales of the strange. In Sasquatch secrets, they'll begin to rearrange. Truth's the vibe, we're on a quest. Look beyond the trees, what do you see? Factual stories redefining history. No myths, no magic, let's break the mold. With every word spoken, the wonders unfold. Footprints in the snow, not just a myth. Data and research, let's sift through the pith. Tales of a creature, but science leads the way. Nikki's quest for knowledge, come join and stay.
And hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Sasquatch Secrets. I'm your host, Nikki Cologne, and once again, I'd like to thank y'all for being here tonight. I know I skipped out on a couple weeks there. I think we all needed a little break, but I had my daughter's birthday on one Sunday, and then it was Easter Sunday, the next one. So I got a nice little break there, but I thought I'd come back today and see what we could talk about. And let's see, what do we got? Oh, yeah, we're loading up here pretty fast. And I'll say hi to everybody in a second, but let's get right to it. So there's a moment that comes in every pursuit of truth where things shift, where something we've leaned on, something we've trusted, suddenly feels uncertain. And in that moment, we've got a choice. You can dig in, hold tighter, and refuse to let go. Or you can step back, take a breath, and ask yourself a harder question. What if change isn't the end of the story, but the beginning of a better one? Over the past few shows, we've taken a hard look at one of the most iconic pieces of evidence in the Bigfoot world, the Patterson-Gimlin film. We've asked difficult questions, we've challenged long-held beliefs, and for some, that's uncomfortable. It's supposed to be, because the truth is, no real search for answers should ever be built on something that can't withstand scrutiny. But tonight's episode is about perception. It's about hoaxes, big ones, small ones, and the ones that shook this community to its core. But more importantly, it's about what happens after. Because history has already shown us something important. This subject doesn't disappear when a hoax is exposed. It doesn't collapse when something we believe turned out to be wrong. It adapts, it evolves, and it moves forward. And maybe that's exactly what we're being asked to do right now. So tonight, we're not here to tear anything down. We're here to understand, to reflect, and to remind ourselves that change, real, honest change, isn't something to fear. It's something that brings us closer to the truth. And I think that is what we're trying to get at in this field. So that is where we are going with this show tonight. And perception. How do you look at things? Because that is the greatest factor for all of us. Each one of us looks at videos, pictures, and we see something different. You know, some of us see suits, and some of us see hair and skin and muscles. And it's very different what one person perceives to the next. And I realized that today when, I wonder if I have that picture. I think I saved it. So I I wasn't feeling real well this morning, so I actually wasn't sure I was going to have a show today. But then as I was doom scrolling social media and looking at some of the comments under my YouTube, because I'm still getting bombarded with comments on some of my previous shows. This one comment came up, and it says, I don't care about claims or what drama the Patterson family is going through. I only care about the so-called Bigfoot costume and how Patterson created a suit with skin and muscles in 1966. And for me, I was like, skin and muscle. How is he seeing skin on a 1967 piece of film from that, far away? How are you really seeing that whole pixelated or, that film like that? I certainly don't see it that way. And I know a lot of other people don't, but he does. And I mean, I can't change his mind, right? I can't make him see things differently because he's dug in, right? He's one of those who sees what he sees, and that's how he is going to perceive Patty. And I mean, I made a comment back for my own, on my own regard, that I guess it does depend on each individual site. I have always looked at the film and seen a suit, and that's the truth. You can go back on 4 years of this show, and I've always seen a suit. I saw a square butt. I saw white flat feet. I saw hair on breasts that normal mammals do not have. I saw the way the hair goes all the way down to the feet. That's not normal. Normal animals, the hair tapers. And it's hair. I believe they have hair. I don't believe they have fur. So I saw fur. And instead of the fabric, I saw it bunching up. I didn't see muscles underneath there. But see, that's how I perceived it. Those are the things that always made me skeptical about the P&G film. But it's quite clear some people don't see that, and again, there's nothing that I can do to change that because that's their sight. That's how they see things. But, I still feel that Patty was a clever creation from a talented con man. I think he was able to do what he did to that suit, the changes, and that's that. I mean, it's not a big deal because I never based my belief in Bigfoot off of the film. So I'm able to quite easily go on with talking about research and talking about some of the projects that are going on in the Pacific Northwest and great groups, like the Olympic Project and Study Sasquatch and some of these other groups out there. They're doing a great job, and they're out there, boots on the ground. And I've even heard a lot of people lately putting boots on the ground down. I'm like, why are you putting people down for doing that? It does. Some of the stuff doesn't really make a whole lot of sense if you are in this field. Then if you don't agree on anything, then why be here? There are so many other cryptids you could go be looking at. But that's where this whole show kind of came from this morning. Okay. I mean, I worked on it from probably not very long, 11 or whatever. So, and I thought, I think people have forgotten that this whole community has had hoaxes, a lot of hoaxes. And this whole channel was based off of showing people hoaxes and exposing those individuals who perpetrated them. Now, some of them are not proven, right? And I'm going to go through some of those because, again, it's going to be perception. It's going to be how you perceive each one of these that I'm going to be going through. And I dug deep into my archives, and I put up I have a bunch of photos that we'll go through. And I might have some guests pop on a little later. I put out some late notices. Okay, it's Sunday, and if somebody wants to jump on, we'll let them come on. But I thought it was time that I needed to break out with my Bigfoot books of shame that a lot of you know about. This is book number 2. I have my other one right here, that are filled with hoaxes. This book has nothing but dedicated hoaxes. Okay, nothing but stuff that I've collected over my time doing my armchair research. And it is armchair research. This is where I'm at doing my stuff. And it's okay. And I realize that it's okay to do that. Here's the other one. The other one's even bigger. And it's the just all the information that I've gathered. And this isn't all of them. I have 20, I don't know, 15 books now. These first 2 are my most important. But we're going to go through some of those, some of the old ones, some of the ones people maybe have forgotten about, and maybe, some that, you're going to say, I thought that was real, But we'll go through them, and it's all about, acknowledging that there can be other answers and other ways of seeing things. So let me check real fast over to the chat. And if you have a question, please be sure to put it in all caps so I can see it and flag it so I can get to your questions. Yeah, I have a lot of books. Every time I do a show, I save all my notes and I save all that stuff. And I know a lot of people, Jeff told me, why don't you just save it on the computer? Because I'm tactile, I need it right in front of me. I like to be able to shuffle through and find my stuff. And sometimes the whole computer thing just gets me frustrated when I can't find what I'm looking for. But I know it's always in my book. So that's what I'm going to do. So hi, Jen. Good to see you. Hope everything's well. I see Henry's out there. Mountain Man, good to see you. We've got, who else do we have? Oh, there's Trackway. How you doing, Bill? Do you want to change his mind? Interesting question. Do you want to change his mind? I don't want to change. He needs to change his own mind. He asked, do you want to change his mind? I would love to be able to change his mind, but I can't do that. I can't. He's got to do that on his own. All I can do is to provide as much information out, to him or to whoever wants to see it or hear it, and give them more evidence, I guess. I don't know what you want to call it. More information to make a decision. That's about all I can do. I can have these shows and I can show all this, but it doesn't mean you're going to believe it. You can take it or leave it, because people have definitely picked sides. They've picked sides, and one side is right and one side is wrong, which is really unfortunate. That's had to happen. And I know, excuse me, I don't know if I'm starting to get sick. I don't know. I hope not. And if I am, it better come and go fast. But it's not up to me, right? Trackway. Everybody's gonna have their own way, their own journey into this whole thing. But I can tell you that I picked a side, right? I picked a flesh and blood side, and a lot of people had always picked a woo side. They believed that Bigfoot could do otherworldly things, and that was fine. I'm not trying to convince them to come over to my side. It's not like, coming to the dark side or whatever. It's not like that. But they exist. They're there and we're here, and that's the way it is. Now, if I can show them something to help them, maybe make more informed a decision and it changes their mind, then they were a little bit open, right? They were open to the change. Some aren't open. Some are going to, like I said earlier, dig in, and they're not going to change their minds about anything. And I can't really help that. I just know that I still love to talk about Bigfoot. I still love to talk about the possibilities. I still don't believe it was a bear that came up to my tent in Mount St. Helens. I don't believe it. I know how a bear would have acted, and it was not a bear. It was not a bear. And Jen was there, and she believes it wasn't a bear. And we saw footprints the next morning. There are things that change you, and now you want more answers. You want to know what's going on. So everybody's got that something. Brown dwarf, Bigfoot dwarf. I will always call you Brown dwarf, Glenn. Good to see you, Sharon. Great to see you. Oh, there's Ed, lazy cowboy. Good to see you guys. Always love to see Ed's work show up and then other people steal it. Let's see what else. Who else do we got out there? I know if I missed you, I'm sorry, but T-Bone, good to see you. Thanks for the little please share. Thank you. Appreciate it. I tend to forget about that. So, and Smoky River, you were right there, ready, number one in the house. Says, hey, Nikki, this title can't be beat. All the crazies coming out of the woodwork, all because of some hairy being that's probably laughing at all of us. Probably laughing at all of us. So everybody's got their thing, right? And that's where we're going with this. Just a little reminder of some of the stuff that's happened in the past. And Capturing Bigfoot closes one door but doesn't solve the mystery. Right? Doesn't solve the mystery. Something's happening out there. Things are happening. People are seeing stuff, and not everybody can be hoaxing. There's a lot. I'm going to tell you there's a lot, but not everybody, right? So we're going to go through some of the stuff I have. And in between, I'll be talking about my points, my segment points. But where should we start? Now, maybe we should start with Patty. And we've already kind of gone 3 days. So we'll do this fast. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what I see, right? So I did a show back, oh gosh, it's been 3 years now or so. And this picture here is just a blown up picture of 352. Okay. And take a good look at this picture, because this picture took a huge turn. Okay. In around 1992 or so, people started messing with it, saying they wanted to clean the image up. They wanted to bring out some of the features of Bigfoot. And you had people like MK Davis come out and want to work the heck out of this film, okay? Trying to pull out more information from the photo. So much more information that he saw hernias, he saw braids in the hair, something in the hand. He saw what's it called? Uh what do you call it? Oh no, now I can't think of it. Stuff coming out the butt, all kinds of stuff, okay? So that's how much he wanted to change. And there's no information for that, right? You can't see something that's not there. You only have the information that is in this photo. And if you look at the face is one of the biggest telltales for a lot of people, is how that round bulbous nose and how the hair completely covers the face, okay? Which I found really weird that the lips even seem to be covered in. Because remember, after 92, they started changing the image, and all of a sudden there were lips and there were teeth and there were other things. And I'll show you that picture too. But this is the true picture, okay? This is just a blow up. It's not changed from the original. So you see what you see, right? You see breasts that have hair on them. Mammals tend to not have hair like that. All jokes aside, right? Okay. You have the hair. Well, you can't see in this picture, but the hair all the way down to the feet instead of a tapered look. In most cases, when there's rubbing going on with hair, there's bald spots or balding, and that happens a lot with primates. You don't really see that here. And those horrible white flat feet. Oh my goodness. Actually, I think I have that picture. Hold on. Right there. A horrible flat ass feet, okay? Those are things that I couldn't get past. I could never get past that. So, yeah, I could see a square ass butt or something in the pocket, maybe maybe his wallet was in his butt pocket. I don't know. So that's how I always saw it, and I couldn't get anybody to convince me otherwise, even with the whole story, and there were points where even Brent got to the point where he was believing more in the PG film because of things like, why would they go all the way to Bluff Creek to fake a video that they could do in their backyard? Because footprints or a trackway had been seen or found there previously, so it made a good background. I mean, I don't know that's conjecture. It's just us being speculative about what they were thinking at that time. And I think it says a lot that after all this happened, they created, a company, and Gimlin was in the company. He knew more than we thought he knew. And I think a lot of us hoped that he got hoaxed, that he was also bamboozled, but it's not looking that way. It's really not. And I know that we've been saying this for 3 weeks now or so. 1, 2, 3 weeks, I guess. That all will come to light when the new documentary comes out. And a lot of people have pretty much said, oh, well, I'm not going to watch it. I'm going to boycott that. So ridiculous. And it's a lie. Okay, that's an outright lie. You know, every single person's gonna be looking at that video. You may come back and tell people I didn't watch it, but you're watching it. You're watching it. I'm telling you, everybody's gonna be watching that to see what it holds. And so that's gonna happen, right? So those are my main things that about the actual Patty that I never liked. And it never really swayed me. I went from 80 to 20%. Then I jumped back down to 50-50. And then I kind of went back and forth right there. But I was never to the place where, oh yeah, it's real. That's what Patty looks like. And a lot of people base their sightings as, oh, it looked just like Patty. It looked just like that. So things like that, it kind of they build up, right? You want to believe that's what you're looking for out there. And the heights that they were mentioning and all this stuff, some of it was a little bit crazy. So let me make sure I didn't miss any questions going by. Jonathan Stokes, glad to see you. Canner, Bigfoot got back in that picture. Yes, they did. B2 Flying, good to see you. Oh, Mrs. Trackway, good to see you. Okay, and this was from one of my older shows. So why did we have the debate? Thomas Steenberg, that's a researcher for you right there. That man right there. Here's the photo of the changes that happened with Patty and how all of a sudden, the big bulbous chin that was there is now kind of faded away into lips. And that then the 2023 Gatewood thing came out, and now they had teeth and all that garbage. It's garbage. It's AI. Okay, he used programs, and on the show we did, Tate Hieronymus and me, and I don't know if I think Brent was on too. But on the Dark Secrets channel, I have a Dark Secrets channel, and there's only like one or two shows on there for shows that I think might get banned. So if you go to that channel, we did a show about Gatewood, and we talk in depth about these pictures and the whole AI process. So if you're interested in that, you can go check out Sasquatch Dark Secrets and check that out. And we knew the AI, the programs he was using. So we went and we researched those, and yeah, it says right in all the exclamation, of the products, that it uses AI. So yeah, wrong answer for him. It's making up information. It's just filling in gaps. So we don't know if that's real or not. Gatewood added the shampoo and conditioner Patty look. Yeah. Bill Munns does a good breakdown of it, saying it's nonsense. Yeah, that's one of the things that I agree with Bill Munns on. Not a whole lot. I do agree with him, but that is one of the things. Because he knew too that it's changing information. Those programs change information. So there's no way the 67 picture is the 2023 one that Gatewood is proposing. He did a great job on making a suit look real, though, right? That's what I think. Oops. What am I doing? So let me see. What's this one? Okay, that's some other stuff. You guys don't need to see all that. All right. So that was Patty. That was pretty much what we're going to be dealing with now for a while. I mean, who knows if that, I think it's going to come out by mid-May. You know, I was hoping for already right now that this film would be out, and I was hoping that Eric would be able to get it out of Mark Evans, because they are in communication. Okay, they are talking, so, or emailing or texting, whatever it is. So hopefully he gets news, soon about what's when it's going to drop and where. I probably venture to say it's going to be Hulu, but I don't know. At first, I thought it would be on Paramount Plus, but I don't know. Let's see. Oops, I meant to hit this one. It's not delete the fact that there's plentiful evidence of Sasquatch. It only kills Patty. You're absolutely right. It only kills Patty. And you know what? It's not even going to kill Patty. The Patty's image is everywhere and is still kind of an iconic figure for Bigfoot, right? That walk it's never going to go away. It sells. So now it's just, another big hoax in the world, in the Bigfoot community. It's just another one. Miss Nikki, have you seen the suit and I have the Blevins suit here somewhere. Yeah, I've seen it. And where do I have it at? I think, well, let's move on to the next one. And I think it's on this next group of slides I have here off of the Freeman footage. So here's the next big one. Okay. And this show kind of came about also from Patrick. He sent me an email. Hey, here's an idea for the next show, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, what's the next big one we're going to debunk? Or what's the next one that's going to go down? Or what, and Freeman's on there. Freeman was on his list. And a lot of people believe that's already a hoax. That's already been proven a hoax. We have Paul Freeman says that he made fake tracks, and he made them as an example to see if he could fake tracks. But he made tracks. So I can see that going both ways, right? He was using them either as an educational type of thing, or because I don't think he would have mentioned it. And then you have, I think Meldrum was positive on the trackway, and then he wasn't. And then you had a tracker who said, nope, they're not real. And there was 2 films made, 2 Freeman films. Let me get rid of that. There we go. Which some people didn't know, that the Washington Blue Mountain Bigfoot sighting was in 1994, and Freeman, this is the famous one for those who don't know. Oh, there she goes. That whole footage, and then in the last couple years, Doug Hychek, I guess, redid the film and brought out some more images of. Oh, hold on. Somebody just came into the back, or is trying to come in. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and bring him on. Let me move this a little bit. You want your intro? I'm just going to bring you on. Hey, Jeff.
Hey, Nikki. No need for an intro.
No need for an intro tonight. We're chilling, talking about things, old things. And I don't know how much you've already seen or what, but perception. My whole show is about how people are seeing things that different, from everybody else. And what's the next big thing? What we've had hoaxes. We've had hoaxes in this community. There's going to be more. And some people might know about them. Some people won't. But some people feel the Freeman footage is a hoax and could be the sun, in that suit. And that there was a precursor video that could lend to the Freeman footage being fake. I loved this footage. This one was my favorite compared to the PG film.
Yeah,
for sure. And then, that's what I was talking about. That Doug brought out some the baby being picked up and stuff, and I was fortunate enough to see that new rendering that he did, and I see legs moving, I see dangling down, so it's interesting. It's not to say that it could be a doll or something. I don't know. But what are your feelings on Freeman?
I kind of the first year or so, I really started looking at videos like this. I really liked the Freeman footage, but the more the backstory came out, and the more there were other things to consider. I mean,
Right.
it just, once that water gets muddied, it is hard to clear up afterwards.
I agree. There you go, Kenner. There's the Leroy Blevins suit. And I have a feeling that the Independence Day footage was the Blevins suit. They deny it. Okay, Leroy Blevins wholeheartedly denies that that's his suit, but I swear that butt is the same butt. And I mean, I have it here, and I'm going to show it to you, but I do. Okay, I think that was it. 100%. I think where is it? It's not that one. I can't remember where it is. I have so many things, and I didn't have time to really write them all down, but it's going to come up on some of my pictures. It'll come up where I have the Independence Day. I wonder if I can pull that one up real quick. Let's see. Independence Day. Not there. I have to open the whole thing. Okay, let's see. I guess I'll have to wait. I don't want to spend that much time on doing it. So one of the questions that I had was, what happens when something we thought was untouchable isn't? We have other things out there, and part of that, it changes for a lot of people. It's going to change for a lot of people. And forever since social media started up, this was the biggest place to start seeing images, right? Of, say this image here of this baby, which was called a baby Sasquatch. And later, images came out, more images came out of this picture. I don't know how many of you out there has seen this and thought, oh my gosh, that looks like a baby Bigfoot, sitting there. But the original photo actually came out, which is this one right here, and it ended up being a guinea fowl. That the image was altered, and it, but you don't know until people come forward or other information comes out or the original drops, and then things happen that way. Bat Mom says Jeff was the one you saw look like any of these films.
No, and I maintain that, like, when I share my encounter with people, I've done it a few different times on some different channels, and it I've always mentioned that even if I didn't have any reference, at 18 years old, I didn't have the uncle who sat around the fire and talked about Bigfoot. I had nothing to go off of other than just being experienced in the remote outdoors and having a dad who was a big game guide, so I had a lot of experience with large game animals and bears and things like that. But I'm almost kind of glad I didn't ever have any reference to it, because one, it gave me the chance to analyze that day, and when I look back on that day, I didn't have a reference that I compared it to. But in retrospect, now that I've seen all these different films and seen different things, I still don't see something that really looks accurate compared to what I looked at. I mean, most of them, even when you look at these suits, they look big. But what I saw, the body mass was so large, you couldn't put a guy in a suit and replicate that.
Mm-hmm. And I've heard that from a lot of people too, though, is that people assume that Patty was big, really big, and
Mhm.
after, Ed Lazy Cowboy did his calculations and found that it wasn't in the 7-foot range, it was more in the 6-foot range, it kind of brings it down a little bit, down to earth a little bit, to possibilities.
Well, it not only brings it into a reference that you could associate something with, but also, when you start trying to estimate what would Patty have weighed. I mean, when you look at the body mass that's there and the height that they are now determining that she was, had that been a real creature, I don't think it would have weighed over 450 pounds.
Agree. Yeah. Agreed.
But what I encountered was several feet taller than that, and I would guesstimate that it has to be well in advance of 800 pounds, if not close to 1,000.
Wow.
And when you think about what it takes to leave prints in most of, I mean, it's one thing on a muddy riverbank, but when you start talking about trackable prints or even castable prints that are, 16, 18 inches in length,
Mm.
with the width that they are, the amount of energy and force downward to really leave a print like that kind of just the idea of it kind of blows me away. And I say that after tracking moose and bear and elk. You know, we're talking about animals that, you know, a moose can weigh 1,800 pounds. And most of these elk that I track are in advance of 1,000 pounds. And those are really defined, sharp hoofs on those animals that when you look at how they're cut into the ground and the way that they're printed, even given that weight and that small of a print going in, on normal ground, a lot of that isn't even readable. I mean, on like pine needles and stuff like that, on compacted ground, you've got to get the right conditions to be able to track something like that. So if you're going to talk about something that's only going to weigh 450 pounds and it has a 16-inch long foot that's, you know, 8 to 10 inches, whatever, wide, what kind of a track would that leave, really, you know? It'd have to be some pretty perfect conditions in the substrate to be able to capture a track like that.
Right, exactly. Looking for the name of this photo. So, like I said, that we have so many hoaxes that have been out there, or even just misidentifications, right? That are out there and people take them the wrong way. But in this photo here, this is one of my favorites because it was actually in his area. And he went to find this to see what this was, to look for this area. And he did. It wasn't his photo, but it was somebody else's. That it's just a stump out there, and somebody carved a face into, you know, that stump. So, you know, it happens. That happens more than we think it happens. People post photos from movies.
I was going to
But
say,
it's
even when you consider that, well, in my mind, by default, I would tell you Bigfoot is real. But even if you're not an experiencer, but you believe that it's real, you have to believe that the numbers that they would likely exist in, if they're a flesh and blood being,
mhm,
would have to be low enough that there's way more creative artists out there in the world doing stuff in the wild, leaving stuff. I mean, the idea of going out and carving a tree into something, or, you know,
right,
stacking up rocks in things in a remote area as a way to leave your mark there and say, I wonder how many people will look at this and really wonder where this came from. What did this, you know? I mean,
right.
there's more people like that than there would be these beings.
Yeah, for real. What is this one? Have any witnesses of female Bigfoot reported hair on breasts or larger breasts? Some mammals do have breast hair. Humans only are the only known primate that can have large breasts when not lactating. I'm not an expert at hair on the breasts.
Which is probably good, I would guess.
But listen, most primate don't have around the nipple have hair. Okay, they don't have that, and there's no clear definition of a nipple on Patty. Okay, you can't say that. They're just mounds. So that was bothersome to me. And also primate tend to have flatter, you know, they're not honkers. So but I don't know. It's just one thing of many, right? That bothered me about Patty to begin with. So yeah. Question for Jeff and Nikki. Were you surprised or not surprised at all when you first heard about all the recent details of the P&G hoax? I was not surprised. Um, I was, I, what was, I don't think it was surprise for me. It was, let me see. I want to see it for myself, just like everybody else. You know, when you have, when your eyes see what, say, uh, Eric has seen, things will make a lot more sense. He can tell us everything. He can be behind stage and tell us even more details than he's already said. He's pretty much told you all everything. But, and it makes us, okay, if that, I believe in Eric because I know Eric, right? I've known him for years. I know of his credibility. I know he is the most honest guy I know to a fault. He tells on himself if something's not right, if he makes a mistake, he corrects himself. I know him. The majority don't know him, but our small group, I'm sure, know him enough to know that he is not lying about this. He is not making anything up. He was recalling exactly what he saw that an hour after the show. Not a year, not 2 years after.
Well, the thing to really consider is he watched it in an environment that was a relaxed environment, prepared to watch and analyze something. This wasn't like somebody grabbed him, threw him in a van, showed him a video, and threw him out on the curb. We
Right.
all try to compare secondhand accounts of stuff when we start thinking about encounters and stuff. I even think about when I'm guiding a hunter or a pair of hunters and we're sitting on a ridge and everybody's got spotting scopes and we're 5 feet from each other and I'm saying, "Do you guys see that wolf?" And then I'll say, "Oh, there's 3 of them." And then I'm like, "Oh, wow, there's 8 of them." And they're like, "What? Where? What?" And I'm like, "They're right in the open. Like, you don't see this, Or I'm talking to somebody about the size of an animal. Do we want to try to get in pursuit of this animal and harvest it? And we're talking about a bull elk that maybe has a kicker horn on one side, which when you see the symmetry of the elk, sometimes they'll have a kicker horn that goes backwards off of it. And those are kind of prizes because they aren't normal to see something like that. And I'll be like, "Look at that kicker horn." And they're like, "On which side?" And I'm like, "Is your spotting scope fogged over or what?" I mean, we're looking at the same thing and seeing different things, right? And so, but you kind of realize I have to put myself in their place. I'm looking through this spotting scope 10 hours a day, every day for 60 some days in a row. They're out
Mhm.
here for 3 days over the weekend and they're all amped up and excited and they aren't processing it the same, right? And so when you're under duress, the way that you store information is not an exact science for everybody. It's different for everybody. But when you're talking about going into a theater in a controlled environment and analyzing something and then turning away and saying, "It showed me this, it showed me that, it showed me that," it's a lot different than a police officer standing at the scene of a car accident and asking 2 people, "What did you see happen?" And they're like, "This person hit the brakes and then they gunned it and they hit this car and it bounced off." And then the other person's describing something a little different. It's because all that happened under duress, right? And now they're talking about it with red flashing lights in the background and everything else. Eric had an opportunity to sit down in a controlled environment and really analyze this. And
Yeah.
so when he shares that with me, I would have to at first me and you have the luxury of knowing Eric on more than just an associate level, but actually friends with him.
Mhm.
And we talk about things all the time outside of this subject. And it really helps you learn about each other the way that, is somebody wear the emotions on their sleeve or not? Do they tend to embellish something? Do they get excited about things? Eric is about the most level-headed, even course person that you're going to meet. In fact, if I had to imagine what kind of a scenario it would take to really get him flustered or upset, I'm not sure what that would be, to be honest with you. He's pretty probably one of the most stable people you'll meet as far as analyzing stuff correctly, recounting stuff. And so I sit here in this position that I have to see this for myself before I would rubber stamp anybody's opinion of it. But I would be way more surprised that Eric got it wrong than I would be about anything else that I've experienced in this subject.
Yeah. Because of some of the things he said happened, it's damning. It's
Yeah.
damning. Um, remember, you see photos online, and it's not that difficult to find out where the source of those videos come from or the pictures, right? Because now Google does all the work for you. You drop a picture in there and let it search for you, and you can come up with a wealth of information. This Boise Bigfoot, put out this photo saying that this was a Bigfoot and blah 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 in the area, and put a whole backstory to it. And it took all of me about 3 minutes to find the whole story, the true story behind this photo. And it even linked it to Bone Garden Designs, and that it was actually a 7.5 foot tall Sasquatch that is now located in the Lost in Times Antiques and Odysseys store in Canada. And it had, once I found out where it was at, then I went straight to the actual website of that oddities shop. And right there was a whole section just dedicated to this huge Bigfoot and pictures that we've seen online, right? And the guy who created the suit and him working on it and all of that. So Lost in Time Antiques and Oddities. Then I found it on Facebook and it was there on Facebook. So there was all kinds of stuff, that you can do to try and find out where pictures. Now, granted, this was 4 years ago, and now it's going to be even harder because of AI, because now we're getting pictures that are so crazy looking and detailed. Things have really taken a turn in the last 2 years with AI, and it is going to be hard. Now, I did read an article that said that who was it? There was some I can't remember, some project that was trying to make it so that all the AI sites put tags in their programs, so that when you dropped a video or picture into something like Google images, that it would flag it. It would flag the image as AI. So I'm hoping that comes to fruition, right? So that it would be easier for us to find, artificial and generated images. So but yeah, this group here puts out a lot of stuff that's not real. I mean, they're making up pictures in the photoshopping stuff. And oh, you guys remember this? This was also one of those big things that went around. Architeuthis the picture came out and people were trying to say it was a creature looking into the window and all that stuff. And it's just a guy who makes these puppet images things. And so he has a bunch of different ones too. Which one is this? I think it's this one. So another big one that we didn't talk about that we survived and we will probably always survive. Rick Dyer, he came in hard with many, many hoaxes, his biggest one being that North Georgia Bigfoot in the freezer hoax of 2008. He also did, there was another one. Let's see if I have the picture of it. That one right there. But it doesn't have a name. But they also created this one. I got him to confess that this was also his picture on live TV. That would be my episode 5. If you go back and want to see the first time Rick Dyer was on my show. He came on twice. But the first time.
No one will ever forget the second time.
Yeah, that he came on the second time. He was not feeling well the second time. And but I showed him a picture of his arrest photo, his mugshot. He did not like that at all. He was mad. He was so mad at me. But it was all fair. He was just sick. He couldn't come back to that. And then we know about his tent video, who he swore up and down, on the show, that it was real, that was really a real one. He had put the ribs, nailed the ribs up to the tree, and it was there eating the ribs, and that was real. And then the minute we got off the show, behind the scenes, he confessed it was all bullshit.
Yeah.
I
think there's a lot of people who thought this one was real.
Yeah. A lot of people did. But he went into detail about the guy in the suit, and it was an actor. He actually did some acting in some movies, and how the guy was a pain in the ass because he was complaining about the heat, and all he wanted to do was take the suit off and smoke. And he went into a lot of detail about it. So it was like, but he always wanted to leave a little bit of there's Bigfoot out there. Right. And then you have his Bigfoot behind what was it? Not the Walmart, the Lowe's or whatever it was. And then he toured around with Hank, and that gave him $180,000 out of that one. So pretty big hoaxer, right? We all survived that. And a lot of people gave him money.
Yeah.
So come on. I think if everybody saw that, don't you see a suit? Don't you see a creation? Not like a real living thing, which kind of reminds me of the Minnesota Iceman too. That whole thing. So anyway, that's ouch. We had a lot of talked about, and then there he is with Hank hanging in the background. He did end up selling that Hank to Mr. Good Guys here, the Mr. Nice Guys, not Good Guys, Nice Guys. Jimmy Smith. He sold it to them, and they have it at their dispensary in Colorado. And he tried to do some more Bigfoot and stuff, and a few years later, out of Vegas, in the Vegas area. But we survived it. He came and went, and he keeps trying to come back, and he'll tell you that, no, Bigfoot doesn't exist. And then he comes back and he says, I'm the best Bigfoot tracker in the world.
Mhm.
And he still does that.
And
And
he
he has,
even left it on the table that he wasn't done,
yeah, yep.
that he's working on something now. He said, of course, that was a couple of years ago, but
Yeah, he does. He has a new group. He's got his car, his truck, what do you call it when you
rap.
wrapped it? Yeah, he's wrapped his vehicle all
Mm.
up again. So we survived it. It happened. You move on. And a lot of people believed him. We
Yeah.
have a lot of that going around. And
Mhm.
look at Todd Standing. He has got so many followers that have never ever left his side,
When
and
the thing is where Todd differs from a lot of these, Todd was emerging when the internet was ripe, and the trailway to dispersing this type of stuff was really highly being traveled. When we look back at when Dyer did what he did with the body in the freezer and this and that, the internet wasn't what it is. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And when Todd, once we started getting Netflix and all these different places where you could go and purchase docs and see docs when it's convenient for you to watch it, not for when some channel decides to air it one time that month
right.
at 3 in the morning on Saturday, that his first real big documentary that he did was so widely watched, and quite honestly, from a hoaxing perspective, was actually produced and done pretty well. I'm not going to say that it was so believable, but yet for somebody who really doesn't know how to properly question or vet what they're looking at, somebody who maybe would subscribe easily to a narrative, um, it wasn't hard for him to win people over at that time.
Right. Right. Oops, I can't get over there. There we go. When you call him out that his puppet doesn't blink, he releases new video of the puppet blinking. Well, now you
Mm,
can make anything blink. With
yeah.
AI now you can do anything. You can put a picture of yourself and make it dance. It's a kind of moot now because you can make any photo do whatever you want it to do. Look at the bags under Todd's eyes, the same as the Bigfoot. Yeah, actually, it is the same. I can't 100% say he created all this, that somebody helped him put that face on, that he was the creature, or that he has leather face. I don't have that picture. Dang it. Everybody knows Leatherface, right? The light colored Bigfoot he has, that he created that. All I can tell you is that it looks like felt. It doesn't look like a skin. And I can also tell you that out of all his preparedness, all of it, right? Him and all his cameras, he never shows the whole body. He never shows. Supposedly, there is some new stuff that came out that somebody created an AI thing and it shows the whole body. It's amazing, actually, but it's not his. It was created later through AI video.
Well, and one
But
of the things that makes his rank still standing there behind him is that he kind of swindled Bindernagel. He swindled Meldrum to an extent.
mm,
I think that he manipulated what Meldrum said in a long interview and edited it down. But, he,
and Les Stroud too.
yeah, he wasn't stupid about searching for the rubber stamp of approval of those in the industry that already were carrying a torch of believability, so to speak, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's see. Here's another one. The Beacon Bigfoot hoax. Oh my God. So many pictures came out of this, and I kind of beat it to a lot of the people who watch my show regularly, about the Beacon Bigfoot. And it was a creation. It was a whole documentary. It's still on YouTube. You can go watch it. The Beacon Bigfoot documentary, and done by Ron English. Him and his son. It was a project they did together, and out of that came about 30 photos, of the Bigfoot and the baby. The baby, how can they get the baby, and the baby this and that, and then you had the dad and the mom and the little kid Chaka. Everybody nicknamed him Chaka. But he had them in one of his what do you call it? Not presentation. One of his expos. He had them displayed there, and even on the building, he had that big old poster up on a building in New York. And it was there for quite some time. So, yeah. And you'll see these photos still pop up today. Chaka will come up a lot, and the baby and the mama and the baby come up a lot. Here's an old one. It's not really a hoax. It just got put out there as, a possible Bigfoot. And it was along, 1894? And I don't know. We don't know what that really is, but I think it kind of looks more like a lynx paws. But I don't think anybody really definitely has a definite answer on that. But it's not as big.
On its side, and both the lower extremities and the upper extremities are both downward underneath the prone position of the body. That I'll be honest with you. I mean, go look at crime scene photos of people who have been shot, and you'll have to look at about 1,000 of them before you'll find somebody laying with their arms and their legs on their side, all in the same direction, like a dog.
Right.
I mean, that's not normal to happen like that. And even if something was going to freeze to death, I don't think it would freeze in that position. It would likely be balled up.
Right. Correct. Yeah, the snowshoe is there next to it, and so it tells you it's smaller than what a lot of people assumed.
Mm-hmm.
There's that photo again. We're always talking about the PG film in every single show. Here's some bear pictures, right? Mangy bears. Gotta love those
I've
mangy.
seen plenty of mangy bears, especially when you start looking at bear pics and you've got a lot of green foliage in sight.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're probably going to be looking at bears that are skinny, malnutrition, problem with mange, or, it's just that time of year, it's common for bears they're not in a real healthy state a lot of times come the dog days of August and September.
Yep. Do I have the Jacob's photo here? Yeah, there you go. Sorry, Henry. I was one behind you. That's that was a big controversy there for a little while. Was the
Mhm,
Jacob photos.
mhm.
And
Yeah, a
I
real mangy bear, when its shoulders aren't carrying all that fat, I mean, that's what most people don't understand. When you skin a bear, okay, and I don't mean to freak out all any anti-hunters that may be watching, but when you skin a bear, the fat layer between the inside of the epidural layer and the meat cap area of its shoulders, especially, is the fat layer is literally like that thick.
wow.
Okay, it's like an inch, inch and a half thick in the winter. In the summer, it starts getting thinner. And then if it's really experiencing mange and it's sick and it's not doing well at all, it experiences almost like a human with anorexia. If you were to see a human that has, is weighing like an adult uh, person who weighs like 65, 70 pounds, you're like, whoa, this
Mhm.
doesn't look like a human. Look at the way you can see all the bones and everything. So when you're looking at that animal, especially the one where it says Jacob's photo, where it's quartered away from you, you see those arms coming down with almost no bulk, no long hair. The hair's thin. The shoulders aren't fat preserved and defined and heavy, bulky. There's no rounded areas to it. It looks like a chimpanzee. It looks like a
Mhm.
primate.
Right.
But if you were to look at a bear skeleton on, let's say, a half-grown bear, 150-pound bear, uh, you would realize that that is what it would look like if it was malnourished and thinly haired and whatnot. So, but people, when they hear bear, that's not where your threshold of comparability goes to in your mind. So,
Mhm. Right. It doesn't. Especially when you have Bigfoot on the brain.
in many ways to skin a mangy bear. Yep, you are right.
And I don't even feel that this was like a hoax done on purpose. I think this guy put these photos
No,
out there just saying, "What is this?"
I think
And
it's
that was
likely that somebody could have captured a picture of a sickly bear on a game camera, and once they realized, "Wow, look how you can barely tell that's a bear, it looks like a hairy human or a chimp."
yeah.
Now all of a sudden it's, "Let's go get a bunch of pictures of this and freak people out."
Yeah. I think what did it for me, knowing that it was a bear, was because of the cubs there.
Yeah.
That's what did it for me. I thought, "Oh, I think it's a bear because, there's other little bears there."
Which means it's not gonna leave that area likely,
Yeah.
and, um, recapturing images of it wouldn't be hard.
There's that hand. There's a very blocky foot there. Oh, that's the Freeman footprint. I think that one looks so blocky, so bad. I think that was it for that one.
Yeah, to me, a the most convincing evidence is, I shouldn't say evidence, the most convincing data to consider, to me, are pictures that really don't clearly show what you are looking at, that makes you analyze the situation and if it's a known location. For instance, and I talked about this, this might be one of the first conversations we ever had, but years and years ago, I had a picture from a game camera that I had mounted on a cattle guard gate where we had cattle in an area out in would be northwestern South Dakota, the northern Black Hills area. And there is a mountainous area that's very forested that elk will come down into the meadowland out of. And so I had a game camera set up on our gate looking over probably a half a mile of open ground at the timber line of where the edge of the mountains are. And it was a cell phone one, so that when I have elk moving out into there, I'm getting a beep on my phone, I'm looking, I can turn that camera on live. That was pretty new technology at the time. What I got indicated that I have an image to look at, I'm looking at it, and I've got 3 different pictures of, and this is after we took the cattle out of that area. So there's nothing in there. And in front of this camera, like right here, you can see, let's see if I can position my arm. You can see the bottom of something like that, like that.
Yeah.
And it's got brown fur, and it's hair that's hanging about 8 inches off of what appears to be an appendage or a neck area. It was something that was looking over my camera. And one picture of it, I'm thinking, okay, I've seen big game animals that will get that kind of bearded look where it hangs down from the jowls. And I've also seen it off of areas of, I don't know how to explain it to you guys. There's one part of your blade on your shoulder that will start hanging long hair off of it. Typically isn't along the appendages of, let's say, elk or even moose. But this, I'm looking at this going, what in the hell? This looks like a female hanging her hair in front of this camera. And there's nobody there. I mean, I have another camera further up the road that it's not a camera, it's a sensor that would bing my phone if somebody drove down there. And that was 2 miles up the private drive area. And so I'm watching this, and about 2 minutes later, I get another indication, and it's the same looking thing from a different direction. Like something is investigating this camera or smelling it, and this hair is hanging down like that long. Now, knowing that I have no buffalo, no cows, I don't have any livestock. I don't have any horses out there. And yet, what wild game animal is going in northwest South Dakota in the northern Black Hills is going to do this? To me, when I start analyzing the circumstances and the environment and the time of year, and knowing we just removed the cattle from that area, knowing what's not there, not what could be there, but what isn't there, and knowing what big game animals, seeing them on hundreds of different big game or game camera photos from all different angles you can imagine, I'm looking at this as puzzled as heck. I mean, to me, this was one of the 3 photos I have that I'm looking at going, I don't know what this is. Yet I'm almost more puzzled by those 3 photos than I am of any Bigfoot photo that somebody's claimed as Bigfoot. I can look at those and say, So sometimes the most perplexing stuff isn't where it's perfectly framed and you see the whole thing, but
yeah. I think I remember you showed us those photos.
Yeah, I remember showing them. I'll have to go and find them. I've got them saved here somewhere.
Weird. Yeah.
That was like 2 computers ago for me.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, John. 2 years I replaced a hard drive. So
good to see you.
Oh, hey, what's up? We're here stroking my beard.
Yeah, hang in front of the camera. Make people guess what it is, right?
Yeah, right on. How you guys doing tonight?
Good, good. Glad you could join us. Talking a little bit about perception, how everybody kind of sees everything a little bit different, and that's okay. That's okay. That stuff happens. But I think a lot of the issues in the community stem from different perceptions and puts us in groups, kind of separates us a lot. But we're all wanting the same goal, I think. And it's kind of crazy how um, this P&G thing has really flipped the script for a lot of people.
Yeah, well, like-minded people will get attracted to each other, and it's easier to group up with people that are thinking the same thing you're thinking or along the lines of what you're thinking than it is to go against the grain. It takes a little bravery and a little bit of guts to go against the grain and think about it and deliver that to people that you like, because you got to think, if you're going to go against the grain amongst your crowd, they're going to look at you like, wait, what do you mean? You don't agree with us? Explain yourself. Then you got to explain yourself,
Thank you, Donald. Appreciate it. But it happens, right? And when we're in groups like this, the hoaxes happen. And it's important that we remind ourselves that there are a lot of people out there who aren't good, who like to take advantage of us, the people who want to really see Bigfoot, who really want to believe in it, who may be a little bit gullible, who don't know about hoaxes and stuff. I mean, look at Sonny Vader. You're looking at, he's been around for a long, long time, like 10 years. Sonny Vader's been along and hoaxing all along the way. He has the same suit. It's a big blue suit. Okay. And he uses it time and time again to perpetuate his hoaxes. And people want to just love it. I don't think I have another one of him, but if he has his channel too, you can go check it out and he'll see all of his crazy fake Bigfoot throwing stuff and behind the tent video, and even Alex Petikoff, I believe, did a hoax video about him and all kinds of stuff, but it happens. I mean, here's Mark Anders. We all know about Mark Anders, right? I tried to get him to come on the show, but there was no answer back. But Mark Anders always showed little tidbits of video, right? That walking Bigfoot, and it looked really good. Well, Mark Anders is a professional computer generated image guy. He did CGI for a living, and back in the day, he had many websites you could go check out. His YouTube right now even shows some of his work with his CGI stuff on there and how he did some of his stuff. But he had a website at one point called Zootopia or Zoo something, and he would generate all animals, moving and doing all kinds of stuff at one time. But
is that his photo right there?
So what's that?
Is that one of his photos? Is that his work?
His photos. This is actually a video. It's his famous one where it walks. It just walks, and it just walks for like 2 seconds. His videos never go more than that 2-minute walk, but it's all the same image. Bigfoot in New Mexico, Bigfoot in Louisiana, Bigfoot in Washington, Bigfoot in Tucson. They're all the same image,
Has he ever explained himself? Like, is it just in it for the kicks, or is he really trying to hoax
people?
It
was just him and his friend had a podcast, and they were trying to do commentary on Bigfoot videos, but they created
his videos, even though they're always so short. Always, when I think back on them, They remind me of the Bigfoot by the lake video. Remember the one where the Bigfoot's walking on like the other side of that little water edge, and it's moving left to right in the frame. But that same walk, the same look, it was just like, dude, come on.
Mhm. Yeah, it was
Show me
always
something different. Show me it stomping something. Show me it breaking something. Show me how come how come you end up with a dozen videos of Bigfoot taking 3 steps and it's always the same thing?
Because
Right.
that's the way Patty did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Just
the
moving
most
along.
digestible, believable thing. And that brings us to understanding that we aren't talking about people who are ignorant. I mean, there's a lot of people like that out there, and I don't use that word maliciously. I mean, some people, when you're ignorant, it's just you don't know any better. You don't have the knowledge base to make you realize that something isn't what it appears to be, right? You're just ignorant of the fact that that is not real, okay? But when
Right.
you start talking about people who are hoaxing, especially at high levels, we're talking about incredibly usually intelligent people. I mean,
Yeah.
you realize they're a little crazy, they're stupid, they have bad morals or they have bad intentions, but that doesn't change the fact that usually they're pretty smart. Otherwise, their hoax wouldn't have lasted longer than 5 minutes, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Right.
Too
This
smart
right
for
here,
their own
the
good.
Antonio Barbagallo photo, has been around for a very long time as well. It, but do you remember Randy Filipovic? I think he went by Racer X back in the day.
I didn't know.
He actually found who put out this photo, and he contacted them, and he was able to get a response back, which you see right there next to it. And he says, I made this photo for a series of commercial advertisements. I was commissioned to make photos of the Loch Ness Monster, flying saucers, and I developed a unique photographic process to give the photos a grainy, high contrast look. I had all the props made by a professional body model builder. I hired a special effects makeup artist and traveled to the appropriate locations to shoot. The photos were used nationwide. I think I made the photos in the early 90s. And it says Tony Barbagallo, photography. And when was this
When I
done?
first got into it, I liked that one.
hmm.
I was like,
You
wow,
know,
that's
weird
something
look
else.
to it, but
Did you find the Independence Day footage yet, or is it still hiding?
it's hiding somewhere. Hold on. I think I did find it somewhere. Wait, let me see. Oh no. Let's see. Okay, there's the Silverton Bigfoot. That's we've seen
Yeah.
several ones of those. In 2008 there was the Silverton, and then recently in 2023 they also had a real Bigfoot walking around by the train, and that turned out to be advertisement for an outfitter group there in
Has that
Silverton.
been that long already?
Yeah, can you
My
believe it?
Wow,
Yeah.
that seems like it was just last year.
Um, Here's the Odell photograph. It was an illustration done by Dale Odell from Arizona. It was done in 2008, and it even has copyright on it, believe it or not.
Killed it.
And you see it on a lot of people's intros and stuff like that.
Really?
Yeah.
You could probably find like some growth off of a tree that could line up and make that figure. Just the way I was looking at it.
Let's see. This was the Beacon Bigfoot. Let me just make sure this is just the Beacon. See, there's the photos from the baby. that are always getting passed around.
Hmm.
Look, there's the Chaka photos. That one right there is also Beacon Bigfoot.
That looks like the lion on Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, it's kind
The
of
real
looks that
one.
way.
I wouldn't want to see that in the woods at night. No.
There's some articles and a lady next to it. There's Ron English. Is propaganda. That's what I was trying to think of earlier. That's the name of the type of art he does. See, it's kind of that weird pop art.
Yeah, that's cool.
Oh, this was that crazy
Sam Gamley album.
Thai or something Japanese. I don't know. I can't remember now.
On Star Wars.
Me. Uncle Boon Me is a Thai art drama film. And that was a photo that was going around, but it's from this
2010. Okay. Drama film.
Yep.
Yeah.
We've got a bunch of that. Oh, there's
Yeah, I've seen that there.
What do they call him again? Oh my God, can't remember his name.
I can't remember.
Help me out. Where's Henry? He's just a chimpanzee, you know. But people tried to make him Oliver the humanzee. That's what it was. They called
Oliver.
Oliver the
I should
human.
have known that. Like I did a little bit of a study on, not a study. I studied that in short, a couple of days worth of taking notes and checking into it. If it's the same Oliver, there was people that owned it and it acted very human-like, and then it exchanged hands from one owner to another.
It was very sad, actually. It was very sad.
What was that?
It's the way he was taken care of was very sad. The whole story. There's a whole documentary.
Maybe it was a different one then. Yeah. Oliver. Boy, it sure looks just like him.
He had about 4 owners.
Yeah, sounds about right. Shit, spray right here.
Let me see. This was not. We looked through all that. What's this one? Oh, there's the Melissa Hovey photo. You remember all that drama with Bill Poling and Melissa Hovey and all that? And to this day, she'll swear that that photo isn't from Claude.
Yeah, I'm not aware of that at all.
But I think it is. I think it is.
Claude, the legend.
And I just from, let me see. If you look at, I have this photo. If you look at the background of this photo, I think it matches the background of the other photo.
Very similar. Same tones, at least in the picture. Yeah, the browns and
I think that's kind of ironic. You know, it's not a for sure thing, you know. Oh yeah, Kaiju Big Red from Timber Giant Bigfoot. I like that one though.
Oh yeah, I like
Big
that
Red
one too.
I like
yeah.
I like when he stands up and walks around the tree. I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah, it's almost like finding out Santa Claus isn't real as a little child, you know, when you find out all this stuff's a hoax. Jeez. It's like shit.
That reminds me, John, when I remember, I may have told this before, it's one of the funny, everybody, if you have a sibling, there's always one moment that you'll never stop laughing about. But my sister has a daughter, so my niece, they kind of let her believe in Santa Claus and stuff for quite a while, you know, and she was like, And I don't know how you pull this off. I mean, your kid's going to school, they got friends, right?
Mm-hmm.
She was like 10 years old. And
Mhm.
she looked out the back deck door and seen my brother-in-law out there hiding Easter candy.
Oh dear.
And she walked outside. She was supposed to be in her room, and she's looking at her dad standing there with this bucket of candy, and he's looking at her like totally busted, right?
Oh man.
And she says, "You've got to be kidding me." And he goes, "What?" And she goes, "You're the Easter bunny." And he's like, "Yeah." And so she goes, "You need to come inside." So he comes inside and they sit down at the dining room table, and she's about in tears. And she says,
Oh, poor
"I
kid.
can't believe this." She goes, "Next, you're going to tell me Santa Claus isn't real."
Oh gee.
And my sister and her husband are looking at her going,
Oh man.
we might as well get this over
Get
with
it
right
all
now.
over with now. Yeah. Oh shit.
There's your Independence Day together.
Yeah. That's
That big old booty.
Which
Yeah.
You can't-
video is it where the Bigfoot, there's a family on a hiking trail and they have one at a distance that's running diagonally down the hill at a high rate of speed?
The Marble Mountain footage?
Is that what that is? That
Uh,
was one of the most, in my mind, when people say, somebody asked in your chat earlier, if Patterson-Gimlin's a hoax, do you think it's going to be one of the most believable hoaxes there were? Well, because it had the cultural amplification behind it, I think that's what made it believable. Was it believable, the most believable by believers? I don't
the
know.
memorial footage. Yeah.
Is it the
Memorial.
most believable by a global representation of people? If you surveyed 100,000 people, probably, because it's the one that most all of them seen, right?
Yeah.
But I remember the first time I seen that one that's running diagonally down the mountain.
Yeah.
The family is kind of surprised and they're like, "Whoa, look at that!" And what really impressed me when I first saw that footage is a couple things. One, I was pretty sure this wasn't CGI or artificially created. If that's not a real Bigfoot, then it's somebody in a costume. And when you look at the rate of speed and the terrain that it's running down that hill diagonally at, I was pretty impressed by that. Also, when you look at how long they filmed it for, it's a fairly long clip. I mean, they've got it running a long distance down that hillside at an angle, and then it kind of gets into a wood line at the bottom. But the duration of the film, I don't know anybody that you could put in a costume and have them run that fast through that terrain downhill in a costume like that without face planting it.
Yeah, without wrecking. Yeah.
I mean, I'm just looking at this going, "Gal, at that rate of speed, that long of a duration." To me, I think that was one of the more believable hoaxes if you really wanted to analyze it. But
Right.
Did anybody ever try to do a recreation of that particular one?
somebody was trying to, they estimated the speed that it was running at, then they estimated the degree of incline and whatnot. But
Kaiju said it was a UW runner tried to replicate it on LMS.
Oh, okay. See, that's exactly what I was thinking, because Doug Hychek had a team out there and they had a runner and he actually duffed out the first time he tried it. And,
Yeah.
Even though he got a little bit injured, he ended up toughing it out and then was a successful run the second time, I think. So that was okay. So somebody did work on it. All right.
But to me, I just remember my first impression of it. And then after watching it like 10 times, I'm still looking at it going, whoa, I mean, it
Right.
just on the surface, it just didn't scream red flag like some of
Right.
these others do, you know?
Yeah. Made a little more sense. It was a little more realistic.
Right.
Capture your attention for sure.
What about the white Bigfoot? You guys believe in the Pennsylvania white Carbondale Bigfoot?
Until you spill the beans. All I saw was somebody with a flashlight and a camera, and all of a sudden you see it and then it darts off, and that's the end of it. That's all I know about it.
Pretty scary if it's real. I don't know. I think everybody's searched for that costume, high and low. But and everybody tries to debunk that one for sure. We all looked for things to match.
Can you go back one, Nikki? Back one to right there. And that one on the looking at your screen on the left. Maybe that is not the same one. I think Steve calls that's not the same one because it had some wear and tear on the fur. Never mind. I'm sorry. That's not the same one.
Yeah.
Can't be.
I don't know where that came from. I don't know where I found it.
Boy, I'll tell you what, if I ever did run into something like that out in the woods, identify yourself now. Son of a bitch.
Well, the one thing that I'm always find myself reflecting back on to my experience that I had was when we start seeing all these different pictures. I mean, you know how many times we're looking at a picture of something going, whoa, that looks spooky. Whoa, that's freaky looking, right? What I stood in front of wasn't spooky and it wasn't freaky looking. It was confusing to me because it had so many human elements to it outside of its overall body mass. But when you're looking at a head that's literally probably 4 times the circumference and size and mass of my head, the jawline so wide and the height between corners of eyes and corners of mouth and jaw, I mean, everything was in such a different proportion. It's like trying to say this looks human doesn't feel right? Because the proportion isn't right for your brain to analyze that in a split second. But unless it's some human that got out of its element and developed into something that I hadn't seen before. But when you're talking about like what I would compare it to is the Todd Standing Muppet pictures, this thing didn't have hair all over its face. I mean, the skin around its eyes and its nose and around its mouth was like cracked, dry, dirt colored skin that was just so weathered and cracked that there was no glistening look. There was no gloss to it. There was no, I mean, it looks like it needs some chapstick pretty freaking bad, right?
Yeah.
And its mouth had an underbite to it. Okay, like the jaw just protruded out further and its bottom lip was really hanging down. And I tell people it reminded me of when, not that it has a snout, but the jawline, the way the lip just lazily hung open. If you've ever been near a bear and had it wind you to where it's opening its bottom jaw and it's just letting its bottom lip lay forward. And what it's doing is it's wafting scent up to its nose with its bottom lip. And it's not moving it to do it. It just lets it hang open like a martini glass that's capturing that air, so to speak, if I was to try to draw an analogy. And this thing looked like its bottom lip was just lazily hanging down from its mouth. But you look at the nose, it wasn't flat. I mean, it didn't have a sharp projection to it, but it looked like it was turned up so that the nostrils did look I've seen some humans who have a nose like that, where it's like you're talking to them and you can look right up their booger holes, it's like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, there were elements about it that were very human-like. You didn't look at this thing and go, ooh, that's scary. Ooh, that's freaking me out. Like it's a horror film or something. There was so much human element to it that it kind of freezes you as you keep racing between is that human? No, it's not human. Is that human? No, it's not human. I mean, you can't land on one side or the other because of some of the likeliness of the features. And so when people say, well, have you ever seen anything in these hoax films or videos? I really haven't. Most of them don't really have much human element to them.
Or what naturally would occur in a face that's weathered and wild like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, to have
Yeah.
perfectly groomed skin. I mean,
Right.
between the insects and the walking through brush and getting, you get a scar and hair won't grow back over that scar. And you don't know how many times I see it on big game animals. When I look at a mature 5, 6, 7-year-old elk and its face, it has scars that hair will not grow back on.
Yeah.
When I look at black bears and look at their the fur and areas that are missing fur, some of these areas won't grow fur on them again. I mean,
Right.
very rarely do you see an animal that's perfect. They aren't.
Right.
They've got broken teeth. They've got an infection. They've got a cut along the side of their face. They've got an eye that's bloodshot because it took a stick to it when it was walking through brush.
Yeah.
It's hard to find perfect animals. You know what I mean?
A lot of the
And so when
raccoons-
I see a picture of the Todd Standing stuff, I'm like, what, did this thing live in your living room its whole life while you served it hot cocoa? This thing hasn't been in the wilderness.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah. I mean, I
Uh,
do think that Jake, and I'm not trying to stick up for Todd either way, but I can say that along the lines of some of the details you were explaining, Jeff, that was something that caught my attention early on with the close-up facial picture of what's called Jake. That's the one with the little Z stick in the front, was the weathered look around its mouth and up underneath of its eyes and stuff, and even its younger shot. So so as the years went by, so the story goes, the first picture that he got of Jake was right on a very steep portion of mountain, and this dark figure was to his left. And then he ended up, the first couple of pictures that he took, you couldn't even really see it, and then finally got into a position where he got that full facial picture. Jake's almost like 5, 6 years younger. And it wasn't until years later, until he went up in that snowstorm up the creek. It's just a freak snowstorm, and he took off and went
And
up
he was
there.
kind of buried underneath that edge of the overhang, and it was above him. And I remember seeing him talking about that.
He got up in there and he got a little closer, and Jake let him so the story goes. Again, I'm not saying it's true or not.
Sure.
A little closer, and got that picture of Jake. And then, that picture, I always just kept staring at that, because up until I was presented information that had led me to start second guessing that. Up until that point, I was hook, line, and sinker, and I studied every centimeter of that face, and I was just in awe and thinking to myself, is this really what these things look like? And I remember at that time, Jane was supposedly a female, as the indigenous natives up there had explained to Todd when they saw the picture, instantly said, that's a female. as they recognized it. Of course, if that story is true, I don't know, but yeah. Oh. But I would expect that any, as you had said, any animal that's born and raised in the woods over a period of time is going to bear them markings and
Well,
them
and it's not just animals that are
fights.
out in the wild, but when you look at, well, for instance, you look at deer, you can drive by your car and a deer and see 2 or 3 deer standing out in an open field and think, wow, they look like statues, right? They're perfect.
Yeah.
And then when you're hunting deer and you down a 4, 5, 6-year-old whitetail buck, and you see how beat to shit he is from mating season. I mean, they tear each other apart. And, it's just when you exist in the wooded, thick, dense wooded areas. I mean, I remember walking one time and it was like, ooh, I ducked my head because a branch just scraped right across my face. And I took a stick right across the cornea of my eye. And I mean, for like 4 or 5 days, I couldn't see very well out of it. And it hurt like hell. And it took a long time to get over something so simple.
Yeah.
And I was out there for a couple hours that morning, walking through some dense brush. Can you imagine 24 hours a day, 365 days a year for your whole life, walking through that stuff? What are you going to look like after a while? I mean, you need to be realistic and try to consider that,
Yeah. And them bucks, man, I mean, when they decide they're going to barrel off a mountain, it ain't like some little skipper dancing around and prancing around and waiting. I mean, them son of a bitch are on a beeline and they start snapping 2-3 inch trees and dead wood like crack smashing.
Well, and especially like elk, when you start bugling
by stuff.
When you start bugling for elk and you get a cow runs by you, a female elk runs past you, and you're like between, a cedar scrub and a mature tree, and you're looking out and you see 2 or 3 bulls standing there ready to come screaming down where she just ran past you at, you better just lay down on the ground and kiss your ass because you're about to get ran over by a freight train. I mean, you've got to be really careful.
Sure.
These things are dangerous. And what they do to each other when they start battling each other, they wear those scars for life.
Sure.
And so, now you start thinking, we're talking about a bipedal, large framed, who's, if it's flesh and blood, and it's especially in cold climates where it needs to sustain a huge calorie intake for the metabolic rate it's going to burn to survive in those cold temperatures, that it's going to go and kill these big wild game animals and not, I mean, you know how many times it would probably have to take a deer hoof to the face or I mean, they aren't going to Burger King and going through the drive-through here.
Yeah. No.
So
I have a quick question for Jonathan, before we go more into that, because before you said you studied the face of Todd Standing's Bigfoot and wondered, is this what they really look like? But did you do that same process when you looked at Patty?
I never had searched for a full length of that film. I had never been presented, hey, you want a copy of the full film so you can see it? This is a Gen 2 or Gen 3 copy. So I only got to see what was on online, and I can say that that face where the hair just always with the not the new juiced up version,
Right.
Okay, but how it came square right across the face, and just like there was just this like half moon opening
Yeah.
Square right across the cheek, under the nose, and straight across. That always struck me as a
Like a
mask.
ski mask.
Yeah, like a bank robber.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't do a good job with the makeup on the front.
It
So
just,
you had to throw
if
a
you
bunch
go
of
back
makeup
to that picture, Nikki, go back to the one you just had up. What I find interesting is when you see the no hair at all on not just the bridge of the nose, but the base of the nose where it's forming to the cheek, all the way from the eye, all the way down to where the nostril starts. There's no hair there. There's no hair along the whole upper bone part of the cheek, all the way outside of the area of the eye. And yet where you see a hairline is like, it's almost like they created this look on the natural beard growth of a human.
Yep.
Like if you're going to grow a beard and you're going to not have to shave, the areas you won't have to shave are exactly what you're looking at right there that doesn't have hair on it. It's based on a human growing this hair.
Right.
I don't understand what would have caused there to be no hair that far outside of the bony crown of the cheek, all the way over to almost the base of the temple. Why would there not be hair there?
Right. Yeah.
I don't know.
And where's the and I mean,
I
in
just
those
know that
pictures,
it doesn't look. It looks like a mask.
you can kind of make out an ear. Like you can make out some the fur is disturbed in the area where you could maybe infer there's an ear there, if you want to say. I paid attention to that sagittal crest, right? But then I learned that big chewing muscles made the muscles to make that. But
That's
no, I never really analyzed it that well.
Would a female have a sagittal crest? You know, who knows?
Who knows? Who knows?
I don't know, but it's been an interesting conversation for sure tonight, and
Yes,
I
ma'am.
think we're about ready to pull up the stakes tonight and say goodnight to some folks. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Yeah.
And talking about what we talk about, Bigfoot and the possibilities. But I'm going to end tonight. And at the end of the day, it isn't about one film. It never was. The idea that everything hinges on a single piece of footage, that if it falls, everything falls with it. That's not strength. That's dependence. And truth doesn't work that way. Truth doesn't need a crutch. If Bigfoot is real, then it exists beyond film, beyond stories, and beyond hoaxes and headlines. It exists in the experiences people have had, in the questions that still haven't been answered, and in the pursuit that keeps people going back into the woods, searching for something they can't quite explain. And if something we once believed turns out not to be what we thought, that's not failure, that's progress. Because every time we strip away something false, we get a little closer to what's real.
Amen.
So maybe nothing is being lost right now. Once the documentary is dropped for all to see, then maybe something will be refined. Maybe the noise will clear and what's left is stronger, more honest search than we've ever had before. So change doesn't mean the end of the road. Sometimes it just means we're finally heading in the right direction. So thank you again for coming. Please be sure to hit that like button. If you like my content, then please be sure to share it out. And I appreciate all of you. And I will see you all in the next chat. Good night, everybody.